Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak, Robert Paris, and John Vias, Peter Brown with the weather, and Jolie Atwood with the community calendar. Thank you for joining us. The students have been back in school for over a week now, and to see how things are going at the elementary level, BNEWS Director Rich Hosford visited two of Burlington's grammar schools. He files this report.
Burlington schools have been open for a little over a week now, and students are adjusting to being in a classroom during a pandemic. It's been a big transition for everyone, but school leaders are sure about one thing. They are happy to have students back in the buildings.
It's been great seeing everyone back in school. We're all learning to smile with our eyes because we all have our masks on, but we've definitely seen big smiles with our eyes as students are arriving. They feel great coming back, seeing their teachers. Teachers are welcoming and inviting and just so full of joy seeing their students and having that connection in the classroom. That's been fantastic. And we have some colleagues making connections on the remote academy, which has been terrific too. So it's been a great effort amongst all of us to get back in this building.
Great feeling. It's been it's certainly been an interesting process. So it's from now since March. It's been a long road, but we all are really happy to be here. I've been in this building a lot this summer, last spring. Been here alone. I've been here with adults, but it never feels the same until kids are actually here. They've given a huge amount of life to this building. It's been really exciting, and everyone is feeling really good.
Of course, as with all things right now, schools look a little bit different than in other years.
I think it's obvious it's a very different school year. Or just looking at me, the masks are something that's different. Making sure that I always make sure everyone is safe, but now we're adding an extra layer of safety, making sure everyone's socially distant, making sure everyone is wearing their masks, making sure that people are limiting travel throughout the building, and staying healthy and staying safe.
Some of the things we do is we've had signage. We've also talked about at Pine Glen how we spread our wings to soar, and we keep our wings out for our owl distance and our wingspan to help us know social distance. We also have signage up, markers to let us know which way to go for traffic. Students can use one bathroom, one student at a time can use a bathroom. So we also have signage up alerting students to that, as well as place markers to stand 6 feet while waiting to use the bathroom. And we have 6 feet social distance within the classrooms as well.
Despite the masks, social distancing, and other protocols in place, school leaders say the students are happy to be back with their friends and teachers.
They're very excited to get back. They're very excited to see their friends, to engage in the learning. Frequently when I talk to students, they tell me they love writing and math, and those are two of their favorite things to do.
There's been a huge amount of enthusiasm amongst the kids. They've been really excited to reconnect with their peers. They've been really excited to reconnect with the adults here, whether it's last year's teachers, this year's teachers, support staff that they work with. It has been so good to see them after all this time. And I think the kids are feeling really good, and they're starting to I feel like we're at the end of the second week. I feel like there's some level of normalcy starting to come back.
Finally, Mr. Rosenblatt said having students back has been a positive for all involved.
It has been great for the students, great for our staff to have the kids here, to be able to reconnect, to be able to rebuild a community. It has been amazing to be a part of, and it's been a really, it's been certainly a roller coaster. There's been many highs and many lows, but being here is certainly as high as we can get.
From Pine Glen and Fox Hill Elementary Schools, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
The effects of the pandemic on the local economy are beginning to come into focus. On Monday night, Town Accountant and Assistant Town Administrator John Denizio gave the Board of Selectmen an update on the state of the town's finances and what measures he recommended for the upcoming town meeting. First, he said the good news that they are expecting the same level of funding in state aid from FY20 in FY21, which we are in right now. The fear had been that they had expected to possibly receive up to a $2 million cut. The bad news was the state of the local receipts from sources such as meals and hotel taxes and building permits. He said the shortfall from those was going to be around $2.1 million, less than what was projected before the pandemic, mostly because of the closures of businesses, including restaurants and hotels, that came as part of the governor's shutdown order in March. This meant that the budget passed during the town meeting in June would have to be altered to reflect this amount. Under Denizio's recommendations, the majority of the deficit will come from accommodated accounts, mostly by holding off OPEB payments. In total, $1.4 million will be taken from this source. The other $700,000 will be split between the town and the school side of the budget, Denicio said. The biggest cuts on the town side, according to the recommendations, are $55,000 from the police, $50,000 from the DPW, and $45,000 from accounting. Most departments will see cuts between $15,000 and $27,000. A few departments, including town clerk, conservation, human resources, planning, and veteran services, won't see quite as much percentage-wise. The Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to recommend Denicio's plan to town meeting, saying they acknowledge the impact of the pandemic. Selectman Nick Priest said the goal was to avoid raising taxes. Here he is.
I heard from a couple of folks who say, well, then let's just raise the taxes, which of course sends a red flag and alarms, and multiple people are called and a red phone rings and with a glass case over it. And we're trying to be very, very cautious about how we approach that. I think that, with the unemployment rate still being high and business not doing well, it's, I think raising taxes is, and I'm not speaking for the whole board here, but in my opinion, is the last resort.
How the school department will make its cuts, or if they will propose a different solution, will be decided by the school committee that budgets solely under their purview. The largest impact is likely to happen in the next fiscal year, when we see what the commercial tax assessments are and whether or not there are many abatement requests. The automated watering season, already reduced to 1 day per week depending on addresses, will come to an end at the end of the month. The Board of Selectmen voted unanimously on Monday night to implement a full outdoor watering ban via sprinkler system starting on Wednesday, September 30th, that will be in place until March 30th. The decision came at the recommendation of DPW Director John Sanchez, who said they need to close down the Mill Pond Reservoir treatment plant for routine maintenance and cleaning. Director Sanchez explained that to keep up capacity when the facility is shut down, they need to make an emergency connection to the MWRA through Lexington. One of the requirements of making an emergency connection is to have a complete watering ban in place. Sanchez said they wanted to wait until the fall because most people stopped watering around that time. He also said that handheld watering by hose is allowed. There are also some exemptions for new lawns, construction work that requires water, and others. Residents are asked to call the DPW to get a waiver. Also this year, while the emergency connection is in place and the treatment facility is shut down, Director Sanchez said that he will also be installing a new sediment system, so in the future they won't have to shut it down to clean out the sediment. This will mean that unless they have other repairs to make, they won't need to shut down for more than a couple of days every year. The Burlington Public Library collaborated with Burlington High School to begin a social justice speaker series held via the library's Facebook page. Each discussion gives an in-depth look at social justice, systemic racism, and racial equity. BNEWS reporter Robert Paris has this look.
The Burlington Public Library is showcasing 3 special virtual programs, all about social justice.
So about 2 years ago, we did a Burlington Reads program where we discussed civil rights. And with this coming up, in the news again, it captures a lot of people's attention, and that's one thing when we're looking to put programs together. We see what's capturing people's attention, where they may be looking for more information, and where we can look to the advocates, but also the experts, and bring them into Burlington and help educate our community.
BPL has collaborated this program with Burlington High School and English department head Shannon Janovitz.
So every year, the high school completes a reading challenge. It's a monthly reading challenge. And this year, we really wanted to partner with the library, as I know they also work on community reads programs. So we reached out, got in touch, and they actually were already starting to focus on a social justice series. So we've been in contact all summer and planning different monthly topics that align with our curriculum. It's been a great opportunity to work with them.
First up in the series was exploring systematic racism.
Dr. Crowley came to us for the Burlington Reads program that we did 2 years ago. He's the minister at the historic West Newton Church, and so the Myrtle Street Baptist Church. And he was a wonderful speaker, really, really amazing. Is incredibly insightful and taught me a lot. And so I thought that it would be a good idea to have him back. So he's going to be joined by two of his colleagues, the Reverend Johnson and Mr. Crawford, who works at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government and is also a nonviolent activist.
The program will provide a wide variety of topics related to social justice.
Obviously, we believe in equity. It's one of our driving philosophies, and the social justice series allows us to have conversations about the concept of equity and really tie what we're doing in the classroom to the real world. Students sometimes see books, literature that they're reading in class as just homework and not necessarily something that they can then apply to their lives. So I'm hopeful that with these webinars and the different programming that the library has really thoughtfully put together is going to really allow students to see the real world implications of what they read, but also to engage with their community.
From the Burlington Public Library and High School, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
You can see the full presentation on our website at bcattv.org. The Burlington Fire Department welcomed a new member on Monday night as it said farewell to a longtime member who recently retired. At the recommendation of Fire Chief Mike Patterson, Town Administrator Paul Sagarino appointed Evan Matthew Austin to the department on Monday night during a virtual meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Austin will replace newly retired firefighter Selectman Mike Runyon, who stepped out of his position last week after 31 years of service with the department. Patterson said Austin, a Cambridge resident, is a graduate of Medford High and has a degree from UMass Lowell. He is a certified EMT paramedic with additional certifications in advanced cardiac life support and pediatric life support. He is currently employed by Pro EMS. Members of the board unanimously voted to waive the standard 15-day waiting period on new hires. They also said they were happy to have him on board. They also congratulated Mike Runyon on his retirement. Board Chair Morandi noted that Runyon would no longer have to carry equipment that must weigh more than he does up and down stairs and ladders. For his part, Selectman Runyon said he'd never looked at being a firefighter as a job. Here are his remarks.
It's been a pleasure. I truly mean that. For every shift I went to work was, I wouldn't even call it work. Indescribable. And we get a great thing going over there. Great bunch of guys. Just listening to the resume of Evan, I'm sure he's gonna fit in nicely. And I couldn't be prouder of the Burlington Fire Department and the service that we are able to provide the community. We're very, very fortunate here, and it's been my pleasure. So thank you all for the kind words.
The staff here at BCAT would also like to congratulate Selectman and former BCAT board member Runyon on his retirement. People Helping People invited their volunteers to a car parade in the parking lot of the food pantry as a way of saying thank you for all their hard work and dedication over the past year. BNews reporter John Vias was there and has this report.
It's been quite a year for People Helping People, and the hard work and dedication of their volunteers has paid off once again. With most of their annual traditions having to be put on hold due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the community held a Volunteer Appreciation Parade in the food pantry parking lot on Saturday, September 12th, as a way for old friends and new to catch up and reminisce on the past year, following a volunteer appreciation ceremony from the week prior.
In previous years, we would have a volunteer luncheon at the Grandview here in Burlington, and everything was donated from places here in town for food and drinks and entertainment. But this year we couldn't do that. We have done another food parade, getting food from people in the community who drove by in a parade, and that was really successful. So we thought we'd combine them, but have this parade, have the sign, thank our volunteers with signage, with balloons, with the ice cream truck, to help them know how much they are appreciated.
Bringing together the residents of Burlington, helping those in need, from stocking canned goods to the annual mall wish tree to growing food from their pantry garden, People Helping People does it all.
It's the least we can do for all the time and effort they put in, especially this year. The volunteers have stepped up and helped us meet the increased needs of family who are food insecure, helped develop procedures and policies that worked both for the staff and the clients. I mean, they've been amazing.
The local charity organization never fails to make sure that each of their volunteers know how appreciated they are and their importance to people helping people.
We rely on volunteers. This organization could not exist, could not serve the town of Burlington without volunteers who do untold number of tasks and things here at the pantry. We have an active Facebook page, thanks in part to Melanie Goshgarian, one of our volunteers. And the website is current about what the needs are, and you can respond to that and get involved as a volunteer.
From the food pantry, this is John Vias for BNEWS Weekly.
You can also make a donation at the People Helping People website if you're so inclined. Restaurants and stores in Burlington and throughout the Commonwealth have struggled with the capacity restrictions of reopening. As part of the town of Burlington's effort to assist local businesses, Economic Development Director Melissa Tintakalis was before the Board of Selectmen seeking recommendations and feedback for a park lot proposal by Nordblum Company at 3rd Ave. Parklets are temporary small areas for temporary mobile businesses that have become popular in the COVID economy. Tintakalis asked the board for their thoughts on a pilot parklet program at 3rd Ave using 2 to 4 parking spaces in front of the green between Osteria Ninos and Tony C's. The parklet would be used to try to revitalize the existing space by creating a rotation of events, vendors, and things of interest. The occupants of the parklet would complement the existing brick and mortar establishments, not be in competition with them, and hopefully bring new interest to 3rd Ave Burlington. Tintakalis wanted to know how such a request for the use of public right-of-way would be received. Fully in favor of helping business any way they can during these difficult times, the board recommended a protective barrier from passing cars at the parklet area and asked the proponents be wary of social distancing protocols and logistics of the coming winter. The board also asked to have a map identifying clearly what spaces would be used and a plan of activities for 6 months or so. Town Administrator Paul Sagarino pointed out that other communities have had success using parklets creatively, so there are a number of examples to follow. Burlington has officially become part of the New England-wide Kennel of American Dog Sculptures. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak spoke with the sculptor Dale Rogers on his pack of large metal dogs and has this look.
Burlington has a new top dog. Joining the exhibit at the Burlington Sculpture Park, the American dog, as it's called, has become a part of the New England landscape.
As I grew up, I had a lot of learning disabilities, so I got into art as a kind of a release, and it was what I was good at. And so I started making sculpture. What I started making was a lot of abstract geometric sculptures. That's where my love lied. But in the beginning years, I couldn't get people to connect with my work. And so I wanted to make a piece that people had an emotional bond to. I tried 3 pieces, and the American dog sculpture was one of those 3, and it just worked. The response from the crowd was really good. I started to sell them. And so then I started to make large-scale public exhibitions, and I started to reinvest into my own artwork. And so because I was reinvesting into the artwork that I was producing, I wanted to pick a design that people liked. And that's why you see so many of them around. It was part of just wanting to do something that people connected with.
Perhaps the best known American dog is the 16-foot version at Exit 48 on Interstate 495.
Exit48.com is a site now because that's like a little local landmark. This Exit 48, a lot of people see it when they're commuting from south to Maine, or it's become like iconic in New England. And so we just have this Exit 48 gear now.
Dale commends the efforts of the Burlington Sculpture Park Committee and the town of Burlington.
What you're doing here, it seems simple, but it took years to get done, and it will have a really strong, lasting impact on the community. Bringing art to the community is so important, It inspires kids. You never know where an idea is going to come from. And so whatever helps us generate new ideas helps all of us. And art is one of the things that helps create ideas constantly. And so I just want to thank the people. What you're doing is so important.
From the Burlington Sculpture Park, I'm BNEWS reporter Tad Stefanak.
BHS senior Sydney Shinopoulos has been selected to be a part of the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association Student Advisory Council Committee. Say that 3 times quick. Shinopoulos competes in 2 sports at Burlington High School, girls ice hockey and girls softball. According to the MIAA website, the committee is composed of students who participated in the New England Student Leadership Conference and/or the MIAA Student Ambassador Program. Students attend seasonal meetings with the Educational Athletic Committee and help facilitate student and captains leadership workshops throughout the year. The students are also asked to participate in various associated activities and provide continual feedback from the perspective of students on how to improve the educational athletic offerings of the MIAA. In our series, Who Works for Burlington, we talk to town employees not often in the spotlight. Up this time is Burlington Youth and Family Services Director Christine Schuhan. Let's have a look.
In our quest to bring you the stories of town employees you may not see or hear from often, we present the next installment of Who Works for Burlington. Up this time is Burlington Youth and Family Services Director Christine Schuhan. A graduate of Lesley University with a master's in counseling psychology, Christine has been in the department since college.
I'll just say many years ago, I did my internship here. It was the Burlington Community Life Center at the time, and when I was in graduate school, I did my internship. And then a couple of years later, there was an opening for a shared position, and so I joined the staff at that point.
BYFS provides a lot of services to the community, but wanted to know what she thought was her most vital role.
If I were to say what is the most important, I think it's to probably meet some of the mental health and also social service needs of the community. So the primary piece that we do is the counseling piece. So we do adolescent family therapy. We find that getting as many members of the family in to address an issue going on tends to help resolve the issue quicker than doing individual therapy. We do some individual therapy, but probably more than half of our caseload is family counseling.
Helping residents is a collaborative process with many involved. Christine says she works with the schools to help children, the senior center to help seniors, and with police, fire, and building departments in other capacities. They also work with local charitable organizations.
We do the screening for people helping people, Helpies, and Salvation Army, so folks in the community that are having a difficult time either paying their rent or a utility. They come to us and we sort of look at the big picture and figure out where there are resources that we can help connect them with to keep their head above water.
Youth and Family Services has, like everyone, seen their work change since the start of the pandemic.
In different ways it has. I mean, I think that we're seeing people come through our doors that have never needed to ask for assistance in the past, and sort of helping them navigate some of the different programs that the state is offering and federal government, in addition to what's available here in the community.
Finally, Christine said the work is rewarding, and one of the things she enjoys most is helping educate the counselors of tomorrow.
In part, I think it's training the graduate students that come through our agency every year, our department every year. So we get 4 graduate students that come through, and it really is training future clinicians. And they come in with their own sort of perspective. It helps keep us sort of alive, and I feel like I'm contributing to the next generation, which is great. I think another piece to that is also just sort of the work that we do with some of the families. Some of this stuff can be really rewarding.
Now you know who works for Burlington. We'll be back soon with another edition, so stay tuned.
In this week's Parks and Recreation Department update, Director Brendan Egan talked about the fall brochure, preparing the fields for student athletes, and his desire for things to get back to normal as quickly as possible. Let's check it out.
It's September, and the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department is ready for fall. This week I spoke to Brendan Egan for another COVID-19 update. The fall brochure is now available, and many activities are both in person and virtually.
It's been going well. Obviously a little slower than past years, and we expected that with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, but we've really been seeing a good, slow, steady registration process.
Both BHS and the Parks and Rec have been working closely to prepare the fields for the upcoming modified fall sports season.
We've been out this week, starting marking out the fields, lining the ones that have to be lined, making sure the appropriate nets are out on the fields, and so just in general getting everything ready for a modified fall sports season.
As we continue into the 2020 pandemic, everyone is looking for a little normality to reappear.
Looking forward to a return to some typical operations. Hopefully we don't see a big spike in COVID-19 cases, and we can kind of get back to a typical routine.
I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for the latest forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Jolie Atwood to see what's happening in Burlington.
Hello everyone, this is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. I know it's hard to believe that we are into the middle of September with the first day of fall just around the corner. And as we take a look at our almanac for the beginning of this period on September 18th, our temperatures at this time of the year should be in the lower 70s, and it's actually going to be considerably cooler than that, especially when we take a look at the weekend and a little bit in our 7-day forecast. Temperatures well below average, something we haven't really seen since the beginning of May. As we round out our period, getting towards the latter portions of September, our average high should only be around 70, and actually it looks like we're actually going to be a little bit warmer as we head towards the end of the period. So it looks like summer is really going to try to keep on holding on here as we head into the last week of September. I know it's hard to believe saying that, but of course, as you take a look, our days keep getting shorter and shorter as we head towards the autumnal equinox. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is calling in for terms of temperatures and precipitation for the next 7 days. And this, again, is something we haven't seen much of in the past 4 months. Temperature is expected to be at or below average for most of the eastern part of the United States. And here in the Burlington area and the rest of New England, we are going to be no exception to that, especially as we head into the weekend and the start of next week. Unfortunately, though, as we look ahead at the precipitation forecast, it looks like almost the entire country is going to be seeing either at or below average precipitation. So looks like the entire country is going to be pretty dry out there. Looks like we're going to not really be seeing anything in terms of relief from the drought, unfortunately. But as we go ahead, let's take a look at some of those temperatures and precip coming up for you for the next 7 days. And as we said here, this is a pretty easy forecast, everyone. Pretty much wall-to-wall sunshine with a few fair weather clouds here for the entire stretch of the period, the 7 days. Starting out on Friday again, temperatures pretty cool in the upper 60s. And as we head into the weekend, look at this. We're expecting highs to maybe just barely get into the low to mid 60s. And we're going to have a couple of mornings that it's going to be kind of chilly out there, maybe even upper 30s. I'm not going to put that in the forecast, but it is possible we could see that, especially going into Sunday morning. Now, as we get into the Tuesday and Wednesday time frame, looks like our temperatures are going to start to heat up a little bit. Temperatures back up into the mid and upper 70s, so above average again for that time of the year, but some pretty nice weather. And again, no rain in sight. Even looking further ahead, out 15 to 20 days, it doesn't look like there's really anything in terms of appreciable precipitation coming to the New England area. So we're just going to have to keep our eye out there, and we're going to have to keep the outdoor watering to a minimum. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
Jolie Atwood, and this is your community calendar. Get ready for a game of chess. On Tuesday, September 22nd at 7 p.m., the Burlington Public Library will be having a virtual chess club. Pre-registration is required and everyone is welcome. For questions, email Justin Acosta at jacosta@burlingtonpl.org. Enjoy a nice fall evening with some music. On Friday, September 25th from 5 to 8 p.m., the 3rd Avenue will be having another live music event. Katrina Gustafson will be performing. Everyone is welcome and the event is free. Calling all musicians. The United Church of Christ Congregational Church is looking for musicians, singers, and instrumentalists to perform at the worship services. If you are interested, email the UCC at music@uccburlington.org. I'm Jolie Atwood, and that was your community calendar.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo has quite a tale to tell. It was sent in by Linda McNamee, the president of BCAT. and shows the tale of a whale submerging back into the ocean. Linda says this was taken during a family summer vacation to Gloucester and was with the tour company Sailing with Seven Seas Whale Watch. Thank you for the photo, Linda. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your summer activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments. Whatever you think is interesting and want to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Okay, that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak, Robert Paris, and John Vias. Our director today is Robert Paris. Thank you for joining us.